believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. You like what I'm putting on? You're welcome to the channel. This is Uglo Fashion. So today this is what we are learning, how to make a basque corset blouse. And I hope you love my coat of many colors. I just pick all the pieces I have in my workplace and I combine everything together. So stay tuned. I enjoyed the tutorial. It's fun, it's educating, and I assure you you're going to like it. So please stay tuned to the end and enjoy yourself. If you are new here, please subscribe to my channel. And if you are a returning subscriber, you are very welcome. Thank you very much. Good day, my wonderful people. Today we are learning how to make a corset basque blouse. And this is the fabric I'm using. Ankara patches. So now I'll place the patches aside. Then this is the interface. This is the back up. This is the lining I'm using for this tutorial. And this basket, I intended using it for the yoke, but I later changed my mind as it will not be enough for what I'm using it for. So I've gone out to draw my pattern on this brown paper. So for the shoulder, I measured the shoulder. Then from the shoulder I measured the blouse length, which is 25 inches, and I added 1 inch for the hem. So back to the shoulder, I measured the nipple point, which is 10, the under bust, that's 13, the half length is 16, and the circumference of the shoulder is 8 inches, which is 16 divided by 2. From that, I measured 7 inches, then I ruled the 7 inches to this edge, and back to the shoulder I measured 4.5, and at this angle I measured 1 inch. So I connected everything together with my curved ruler. Then for the nipple point, the circumference is 36 divided by 4, that's 9, and I added 2 inch for seam allowance. For the half length, the half length circumference is 32 divided by 4. The hip circumference is 40 divided by 4. Then I added 2 inches for seam for every part of the body. I added 2 inches for the seam. Back to the nipple point, I measured the circumference of the nipple to nipple, which is 3.5. That's 7 inches divided by 2, which is 3.5. Then from the nipple point, I measured the 3.5 down to the hem line. Then at the hem line, I measured half on both sides and connected it back to the nipple point. So at the nipple point again, I measured 1.5 inch up after the nipple point. Then at the 1.5, I come in with just half inch. So I'll try to trace that out. Then pick my bra cup and mark the middle of the bra cup. Because that mark I made on the bra cup must sit directly on the nipple to nipple measurement. So that's what I'm trying to do now. You can see it's well placed on the nipple to nipple measurement. And after that, I'll make sure the edge is well placed as well on the half inch. Then I'll trace it out with my biro. I'll trace the cup out. So ensure that the cup is not too flat when you are trying to place. Don't press the cup too much. So after tracing it out now, it's not really showing well, so I'm trying to use my biro to trace it out well. Then I will trace it back to the edge. Then I'll go ahead and cut it out. So this upper part is the yoke. Then I'm cutting the dart out of it. Now I've cut out everything, so I'll go ahead to make the basque shape. And for the basque, at the half length, I'll come down with 1 inch. This is optional. If you don't want it, if you want it to be more than that, if you don't want it to be directly on 17, you can use 16, your half length measurement. And for the neckline of the yoke, I measure 3 inches by 4 inch. By 4 inches, that's what I want for the neckline. If you want yours to be lower, you can make use of 5, 6. It's optional as well. So I'm using my curve ruler to sketch out the neckline. Now cut it out. After that, I'll measure 1 inch at the shoulder to make the shoulder slope. Then I'll connect it back to the neckline. And cut it out. So that's for the front bodies. I'll go ahead and place them on my fabric. So for the back bodies, I use 6 inches. For the front I use 4 inches, but here I'm using 3 by 6 inches. That's for the neckline. And I measure the nipple points. And for where the yoke of the back is going to be, I make use of 9 inches. And for the dart, I connected the dart back to the chest, back to the 9 inches I told you I'm using for the yoke. So I have to extend the dart back to the 9 inches. I've gone ahead to measure my body's measurement just the way I did for the front, but here I left zip allowance of 2 inches, so I'll go ahead and cut everything out as well. So after cutting it out, this is what I have. So the 1 inch I added to the half length for the front bodies, I have to replicate it here as well. So I'm adding another 1 inch to the half length, then slant it to the hem line. So for the back, I just measure 2 inches after the zipper allowance, though I later did this for the front, but I didn't show you that part. So now I'm connecting it back to the 2 inches and I'll cut it out. So after cutting everything, now this is what I have. Then I'll go and cut them out on my fabric. So now this is the back bodies. For the back bodies, I added ½ inch. Then for the side of the back bodies, I added 1 extra inch. So this half is just to connect the bodies together. Then I did that for the front bodies as well. I added half, but here I added 1. At the middle I added half. At the upper part where the cup is going to be fixed, I added half as well. So I'll go ahead to my machine and stitch them together. So for the cup, I folded my lining into 2, then into 4 again. You can see the way I folded it. So I'm making like circular shape. From this point, I'll measure 5 inch and go around with the 5 inches. So I'll cut it out. So first of all, I'll get the middle of this. I'll mark the middle. Then at the edge here, I'll measure 1. Down here as well, I'll measure 1. Then I'll slant it back to the middle. You see the way I'm doing it. Then I'll cut everything out. So joining this together, I will still have to reshape some part of it after placing it on my cup, because as you can see, it's bigger than my cup. So for the flay, for the side flay, the length of the blouse is 25. You know, I added 1 inch for the seam allowance, so which makes it 26. So now I'm going to subtract the length of the blouse, which is 26. I'm going to subtract the half length from it. That's 26 minus 17. So 26 minus 17 will give me 9 inches. So I'm making use of 9 inches for this flay. So for the 9 inches, I folded this pattern paper into 2. So the measurement I need for the side is just 5 inches. So and from this point, I was able to mark 1.5. So I'll go around with the 1.5 just to get the circumference I need to fix the flay. I'm going around with the 1.5 now. I hope you understand what I'm trying to explain here. It's just a flay I'm trying to trace out here. So the 1.5, I'll connect them together. Then the 9 inches, I'll trace that as well. So now that's the flay. To join the fabrics together, I'll use my pin. This is the back. I've added my interface to it, so I'll join the back together. You can see. Then this is the front bodice. I've arranged that as well, so I will join them together. So after joining, I marked where I want my boning channel to be. So for the boning panel, I'm making use of this doll face fabric. And after fixing the boning panels, I've covered my cup with my fabric, and I notched the middle. I stitched that at the back up so as to make it more puffy. So I'll go ahead and pin the middle, the joint parts together, then stitch it round. So after stitching it round, this is what I have. So I'll go ahead as well and fix my boning inside the boning panels I have. So this is the tool I later used for the yoke. So I just pipe it with my Ankara. Then I will go ahead and stitch it to the main bodies like this. So after stitching, I'll use my lining to turn the neckline, to turn the chest. I'm trying to secure it with my pencil. I don't sew wrongly. So after stitching it, this is what it looks like. I've stitched the side as well, so I'm just going to stitch the part I'm going to place my flay down. I've done the back bodies as well. So now for the neckline, I'm going to first join the shoulder, and after joining the shoulder, I came back to my table. This is my flay, so I've added my lining, then I added crinoline to this flay to make it stand. As I stitch it to the edge, then I'll go ahead and stitch it to the side of the basque. So I will notch the middle and ensure that the middle is well placed on the edge and stitch it round. So the excess there, I try to curve it out, try to curve the edge of the flay. Try to go in with just 1 inch and just to give it a bent shape there. And I'll go ahead now to my machine and stitch everything out. So after stitching, this is what I have. So I will just use my bias to pipe this edge. Thank you very much for watching this video to the end, and I'll go ahead and stitch my sleeve. So I'll still make tutorial on how to